The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning here at 5 a.m. Thanks for waking up with us on a Monday morning. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher. We begin with breaking news from overnight. A dead body was found in southeast Bakersfield. It happened in a dirt lot on Cottonwood Road off MLK Boulevard. Deputies say they responded to a call and found the man dead, sitting inside a trailer. They're describing his injuries as, quote, suspicious. The Kern County Sheriff's Office isn't telling us anything else at this time.
Also this morning, we're following a fire that happened overnight in central Bakersfield. This is along the Kern River on Truxton Avenue, shortly before 8 o'clock. And you can see crews on scene. They were able to put the flames out in just a matter of minutes. No word yet on what started the fire or if anyone was hurt.
A person was hit and killed by a car over the weekend on the streets of Bakersfield. Police are calling it a deadly hit and run. It happened early Sunday morning on Brundage Lane. Investigators say a man was crossing the road outside the crosswalk when he was hit. The driver took off after the crash. Paramedics tried saving the man, but he died. It's unknown if drugs, alcohol, or speed were factors.
It has been 1 week since the mass shooting that left 4 people dead in Mojave, and much of what happened is still a mystery this morning. We expect to hear more answers later this week. But as far as this morning, the small desert community of Mojave remains on edge. Investigators still don't have any lead suspects or a motive. The only thing we know are the names of the victims. 3 of them are in their 30s and from Mojave. The other, a 20-year-old from California City. No word yet on how they're all connected. Investigators conducted several interviews last week, but they say they could not find any clues on what led up to this shooting.
If it feels like mass shootings are in the news almost every day lately, that's because they are. If this pace keeps up, it could be one of the worst years for mass shootings ever. We're going to take a step back and ask what's driving this horrible trend. Kate Snow has details.
The outlet mall near Dallas.
We start hearing rock, rock, rock.
The Atlanta medical office.
All I see was police cars and SWAT, and everybody's just pulling up, back to back, back to back.
Neighbors shot in Cleveland, Texas, a Sweet 16 birthday party in Alabama, a Louisville bank, and an elementary school in Nashville.
How are our children still dying, and why are we failing them?
The Gun Violence Archive counts more mass shootings so far this year than days, 199. That includes any shooting with at least 4 victims, not including a shooter.
I've been studying this for 40 years, and I've never seen a year like this.
Criminology professor James Fox oversees a database at Northeastern University that keeps track of deadly mass shootings.
Why are we seeing so many mass killings this year?
Well, we have several factors. We have many more guns in the hands of Americans. There's been a large increase in gun sales since COVID. And because of COVID, many Americans are suffering economically and emotionally. And this country is quite divided. People are angry and taking it out on innocent strangers.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott is a strong supporter of gun owners. Today, he said the long-term solution is to address mental health.
There has been a dramatic increase in the amount of anger and violence that's taking place in America. And what Texas is doing in a big-time way, we are working to address that anger and violence by going to its root cause, which is addressing the mental health problems behind it.
Josh Horwitz is co-director of the Johns Hopkins Center for Gun Violence Solutions.
Is it a combination of factors, including access to guns, but also including mental health?
Well, it's always a combination of factors. Other countries have mental illness, other countries have video games, but we have unprecedented access to firearms. So you take the combination of those risk factors and you layer on all these weapons, all these new guns, high-capacity magazines, AR-15 assault weapons, and you have the disaster that we're seeing right now in the United States.
Some states are making changes. Governors in Colorado and Washington state signed major reforms on gun ownership last month. But in Washington, D.C., a chronic impasse.
I have gone the full extent of my executive authority to do on my own anything about guns.
NBC's Yamiche Alcindor covers Washington.
The president said it's up to Congress to act. Is that likely to happen?
While last year President Biden helped pass some substantial bipartisan gun legislation, he's repeatedly urged Congress to do more, including banning assault weapons. But it's unlikely that Republicans who control the House will agree to that restriction or any further changes to gun laws.
For communities torn apart by gun violence like Allen, Texas, a fear nothing will change.
We just go through this over and over, and nothing gets done.
Making news around the nation this morning, 8 people died and nearly a dozen more were injured in the border town of Brownsville, Texas, after a man crashed his car into a crowd. Police are still investigating. The victims are believed to be migrants. This comes as a Trump-era COVID policy restricting the number of migrants entering the country is set to end. NBC's Bree Jackson has the latest from Washington.
At least 8 people are dead after a car plowed into a crowd waiting for a bus outside a migrant shelter in Brownsville, Texas. The city, like other border towns, is bracing for what's to come this week.
We cannot have all this overflow of people. We just can't handle them.
A massive surge of illegal crossings is expected when Title 42 ends Thursday. The COVID-era policy blocked migrants from the U.S. more than 2.5 million times. The Biden administration says it's ready.
We tried to end Title 42 repeatedly, and we're stopped from doing so by the courts. So we are prepared.
Efforts include opening a new temporary processing center and sending 1,500 more troops to the border to provide support. But Texas Governor Greg Abbott says Democrats' policies are the problem.
The reason why we are busing those migrants across the country is because small little towns on the border like Del Rio and Eagle Pass, they have no capacity to deal with the number of people coming across the border.
The president has called on Congress to do more on immigration reform.
We need to begin to have a real bipartisan discussion on comprehensive immigration reform, and I hope that my Republican colleagues will come to the table to have those discussions.
As an influx of migrants prepare to take their chances crossing the southern border. Several Texas cities, including Brownsville, El Paso, and Laredo, have already declared states of emergency ahead of Title 42 ending on Thursday. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
Court watch this Monday morning. The trial of Trezell and Jacqueline West, the couple accused of killing their 2 adoptive sons, is picking back up for its 18th day in the courtroom. And we're coming off of emotional testimony last week where several children of the Wests took the stand. A few moments left the courtroom gasping. The defense has argued investigators neglected searching for any other suspects after targeting the West couple. The trial is expected to end sometime in the coming weeks. Opening statements from the defense attorney were held off at the beginning, and they will be happening today.
It has been 3 years since a local woman was killed and dumped in a trash can in East Bakersfield. Her family still searching for any clues that may lead to her killer. On May 5th, 2020, 25-year-old Candice Welch was found in a trash can on Goodman Street, just a block away from her father's house. Her cause of death was determined to be asphyxia due to gagging. Back in December 2020, Welch's father told 17 News she was strangled to death and was almost unrecognizable and had to be identified by her tattoos. The sheriff's office has never identified any suspects. Welch's family is pleading with the public. If you know of anything about the circumstances surrounding this death, you can call KCSO or the Kern Secret Witness Line.
Your time now is 5:34. The community came together this weekend to fight against cancer. That's what Relay for Life is all about. Hundreds of families and friends gathered this weekend to remember those we've lost to the fight for cancer and celebrate those who are still fighting. Here's 17's Marco Torres.
Let's relay!
We are celebrating our survivors, remembering those that lost their battle to cancer, and we're out here having a great time.
Relay for Life had hundreds of families and friends walk the traditional survivors lap to support cancer survivors in our community.
It's so important to have something like this to bring the community together and show the survivors that they're not alone. They're all out here fighting it together and come together as a community to support the cause.
17 News sponsored the event. Members of the 17 News team spoke during the opening ceremony and handed out medals to participants. The event goes on for 24 hours and ends Sunday morning. Some people will stay throughout the night, but for many, the first few minutes of arriving were breathtaking.
It's very emotional because when I walked out here, I seen so many people that had different type of cancers, and it was just like, wow, we made it.
This is an event many cancer survivors say they'll never stop coming to.
So it's amazing to be out here with people have went through the same treatments and undergo surgeries like I have done.
I've been coming here since 2018. I shed tears of joy because other people have fought various types of cancers, and I'm just so happy that they're here.
Making news around the state, Tulare County has issued a temporary closure for parts of the Kern River. The closure started over the weekend and will stay in effect until further notice. The record snowpack in the mountains means rapid high flows and a dangerous situation. Tulare County officials will monitor water levels and river conditions, and when safe, access to the river will be reopened. According to the Kern County Sheriff's Office, there are no plans to close the Kern River in Kern County at this time, but we know they're being advised to stay out of it. The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.